The night was quiet, but something in the air felt wrong, like the city itself was holding its breath. A single light blinked on the top of a high-rise building, barely noticeable, except to the one pair of eyes that never missed a thing. Somewhere above the streets of St. John's, a secret had just been witnessed. Not by a person, but by something soaring in the sky. And that secret was about to pull Hudson and Rex into a mystery unlike any they have faced before. The call came in just as the sun was rising, painting the sky with pale streaks of orange. A body had been found on the balcony of a high-rise building downtown. From the outside, it looked like an accident, maybe a fall, maybe a misstep, but the officers on the scene felt otherwise. The balcony rail was intact, no signs of a slip, no broken glass, nothing that hinted at panic. Yet the victim lay in a position far too deliberate to believe chance played any part in it. Something calm, almost staged. When Hudson arrived, the morning air felt colder than usual, brushing against the back of his neck like a warning. He stepped past the crime scene tape, letting his eyes take in every small detail. The balcony floor was clean, almost too clean, except for a faint mark near the edge that looked like a shoe scuff. Rex sensed it immediately. He paused, nose lifted, ears forward, body tense in a way Hudson had learned to trust without question. There was something here, something the humans couldn't smell, couldn't hear, couldn't feel, but Rex could. Sarah was already examining the body, her gloves glinting in the morning light. She whispered that there were no signs of a struggle, no obvious injuries, and no reason for the victim to have died where they were found. It was as if someone had placed the body gently after the fact, arranging it with unusual care. But what bothered her most was the look on the victim's face, a look frozen between surprise and fear. A quiet breeze swept over the balcony, carrying with it a strange hint of something metallic, something unusual for this height. Rex turned sharply toward the wind, growling low under his breath, his gaze fixed on the sky rather than the ground. Hudson followed his line of sight, but saw nothing except rooftops, antennas, and distant birds circling lazily across the horizon. Still, the feeling lingered. Something above them had played a part in this mystery. Charlie joined them moments later, frowning as he explained that the building's security cameras had been tampered with. Not destroyed, disabled. Someone knew exactly how to block them without leaving a trace. Whoever was responsible wasn't sloppy. They were careful. They were smart. And they wanted this balcony to become a dead spot. Hudson knelt beside Rex, letting the dog's focus guide him. If Rex believed the clue came from above, then that was where they needed to look. He placed a hand on Rex's fur, steadying himself as a thought crossed his mind, an idea strange enough to feel possible. What if the only witness wasn't on the ground at all? What if the truth had been floating somewhere over their heads, watching everything from a silent perch in the sky? The first real break in the case didn't come from the ground. It came from a shaky handheld clip recorded by a stranger, who never meant to capture anything important. The video was uploaded online only minutes after the body was discovered. A tourist testing out his new drone, bragging about the best sunrise shots in the city. No one paid attention to it until Jesse pulled it up, slowed it down, and noticed something hiding in the corner of a single frame. A blur of shadow. A moment that shouldn't have been there. The drone had flown close to the victim's building at almost the exact time of the incident. At first, the footage looked ordinary. Just rooftops, empty streets, and the soft colors of dawn. But then, for a fraction of a second, something passed across the lens, a movement too quick for the drone's automatic focus to catch. It wasn't the shape of a person, and it wasn't a bird either. It looked mechanical, but the edges were too smooth to match any commercial drone Jesse had seen before. It was like a machine trying to hide itself, slipping through the sky without wanting to be noticed. Hudson leaned closer as Jesse replayed the frame again. The blur darted near the balcony, then vanished upward as if pulled by invisible strings. The victim wasn't visible in the shot, but the timing matched perfectly. If that unknown flying object or whatever it was had been hovering near the balcony at that exact moment, then the balcony wasn't the only crime scene. The sky above it held answers to. Rex, sitting beside the desk, began to pace. Each time the blurred shape flashed across the monitor, his ears twitched and his gaze sharpened. He recognized something, a sound too faint for humans to pick up, hidden under the whirring of the drone. He tilted his head and gave a soft, uneasy growl. Whatever was in the footage, Rex didn't trust it. Jesse tried enhancing the video, but the original resolution was low. The blur became slightly clearer, but not enough to identify. Still, one detail stood out, a faint reflection on a window of the opposite building. In that reflection, the unknown object wasn't alone. A second shape appeared faintly, this one with soft, curved edges, moving its wings rapidly. A bird, but not an ordinary one. Its size was larger than expected, and its movement too coordinated, almost trained. Sarah joined them, pointing out how unusual it was for a bird to be flying at that height at sunrise, especially near tall buildings where predators rarely roam. Yet the reflection didn't lie. Something feathered had been there. Something that might have seen everything from the best angle possible. Hudson crossed his arms, feeling the pieces shifting in his mind. A strange object in the air. A rare bird moving with purpose. A victim carefully placed. Cameras disabled with precision. None of it felt random. Whatever happened on that balcony, he thought, didn't happen alone. Rex nudged his leg gently, as if urging him to follow the trail upward to search the air, not the ground. And for the first time, Hudson realized this case might force them to look at crime in a whole new way. A way where the key witness didn't stand on defeat, but flew. Rex was restless the moment they stepped back onto the rooftop. He moved with purpose, circling the edges as if the air itself carried a message only he could read. Hudson watched him closely, knowing that when Rex behaved like this, something important was hidden nearby. The rooftop was quiet, untouched, and almost as still. But Rex didn't care about what was visible. He cared about what lingered, smells trapped in the wind, faint traces on metal, tiny hints of movement that humans ignored. He stopped suddenly at a spot near a rusted maintenance hatch, his nose pressed against the concrete, breathing in deeply. Hudson knelt beside him, trying to see what Rex saw, trying to sense what Rex sensed. That's when he spotted a feather. Not the kind blown in by a passing gull, not the type they found in parks or alleyways. This one was slender, dark, and glossy, with a texture that looked almost polished. Sarah's earlier words echoed in his mind. A rare bird, trained, controlled, used for something other than flight. Rex pawed at the hatch, demanding it be opened. Hudson pulled it up, the hinges creaking as though they hadn't been touched in months. A gust of trapped air rushed out, musty, metallic, and carrying a sharp, unfamiliar scent. Rex climbed down the narrow steps without hesitation, and Hudson followed with a flashlight. The small maintenance room below was cluttered with pipes and old wiring, but in one corner lay a collection of stray items, bits of twine, tiny pieces of fabric, and more of those strange feathers. Hudson picked up one of the feathers, running his thumb along the edge. It felt different, stronger, almost weary. This wasn't a wild bird's feather. This belonged to something bred or trained for a specific purpose. But what purpose? Why here? Why near the scene of a staged death? Rex moved deeper into the room, sniffing around until he found a spot where dust had been disturbed recently, forming a subtle semicircle on the floor. Something had been placed there, and removed quickly. A cage, a box, a perch. The shape wasn't clear, but the meaning was. Someone had been keeping something here, hidden from sight, using the rooftop as a station. Hudson's mind raced. A trained bird, a mysterious device in the sky, a victim placed like a message. There was a pattern forming, but it was still too blurred to see completely. He stood in the dim light of the maintenance room, listening to Rex's steady breathing as if the dog's calmness could guide him through the confusion. Then Rex stopped moving, his attention locked onto a small metal clip lying near the wall. Hudson picked it up carefully. It was a harness attachment, lightweight, curved, and designed to fit around a creature that needed to carry something without slowing down. It was built for flight. This was proof that the bird wasn't wild. It had been trained, equipped, and used. And if the bird had been here, then so had the person commanding it. Hudson pocketed the clip, realizing that the crime didn't start on the balcony, nor did it end there. It had begun in the sky, traveled through this rooftop, and followed a path no human could trace alone. But Rex wasn't human, and Rex was already pulling him toward the next clue. The investigation shifted the moment Hudson stepped back into the precinct, with the harness clip in his hand. It was small, but it carried weight, proof that someone had gone to great lengths to control the sky. And people who control the sky rarely work alone or without motive. Jesse spread a collection of files across the table, building a picture of possible suspects.